One of the most fan-friendly fighters in the EFC middleweight division, Gordon Rage Roodman, enters the Hexagon next Saturday, hoping to build upon his incredible victory over Georgie Georgiev earlier this year. He joins me now in studio. Gordon fighting Cameron Menkes in Durban in July on the 10th. How's fight camp been for you, mate?
Fight camp's been excellent. It's been a long grind. I put in quite some work. I did know quite a distance up front about the Cameron fight, as far up front as before I fought Georgie. I knew I would be fighting Cameron in Durban. So it was pretty much recovering from the Georgie scrap and going straight back into camp. So fight camp's been great. I feel in phenomenal shape. I've got less than 5% body weight to go in terms of the cut. I think everything's on point. The cardio's there, the strength's there. It's been a phenomenal camp. I got no complaints of it.
So you're fighting at sea level in Durban. Does that make a difference to you or not? You're always in shape.
I think it definitely makes a difference. To deny the altitude factor is gonna be silly. Can we work with it, build on it, change much of it? Unfortunately not, due to the demographic of South African MMA. I arrive 48 hours or 36 hours out of the fight. I touch down in Durban and I fly out a further 24 hours later. Yeah. But I think the simple science remains. There's more oxygen there. It's more oxygen dense, and if anything, it's a tick box that goes in my favor. Yeah.
But definitely. So I want to go back to that Georgie Georgiev fight. It was one of the fights of the year. It was only a few months ago.
100%.
Incredible scrap. What did you take from that? Did you recover well, or what did you learn from that fight?
Wow, there was a lot. It was an incredible scrap. I needed something like that. I'd come off a disappointing 2016. In terms of results, at least, I had a phenomenal year, but results weren't showing it. And I needed a scrap like that. I remember going into that fight thinking that this needs to be an absolute war, and it turned out being. I think what I learned from it most was that MMA being such an emotional sport, you question yourself a lot. As the journey goes, as fight camps go, outside of camps, etc. And that one just put that little feather back in there for me that definitely you still got it. You can still hang there. You are as tough as you thought. Look, I've been dealing mentally with the fact that I've been knocked out, never mind knocked down, for the first time in my entire career by Haritic in June last year. Yeah. I'd never been dropped in 22 fights.
Your next opponent then, Cameron Menkes, is on a 4-fight winning streak, 3 of which were rear naked chokes. He is a ground and submission specialist. How's your ground game coming along, and how's your takedown defense? Been working on it quite hard for this fight?
100%. I think this fight's going to showcase something that is going to leave the commentators speechless. I really foresee them not really knowing what to do with it, because they've been commentating me for 10 fights and it's fairly simple what to do. He's going to go out there and it's going to be full-on war. He's going to meet him in the middle and stay there. Yeah. The Mark Hume fight in December, obviously it lit that little light for me, and Gordon, you want to keep competing here, you got to evolve. And I've spent a tremendous amount of time with a lot of the Rio grappling guys, Jurgen Pate himself, Pero, legitimate black, brown belts, and grappling with them, just putting in hours on the mat. So outside of the actual game plan and the change of fighting style, if I could put it that way, we've been working a lot on the worst case scenario, and if we meet this guy on the ground, we needed to be confident going in. And sitting here today, we're a week out of starting the journey, and I'm happy to meet him there. I'm by no ways going to try and convince you that I'm going to shoot on him and take him down. It's not happening. But if he does stick it, you got to face the fact that you're blocked off in a 12 by 12 meter area, and I'm up against a top wrestler. There's always the possibility he's going to get his hands on me. Yeah. And if that be the case, then we'll have an interesting online conversation the next morning.
Do you think he can stand with you?
Not a chance. I put out a post this morning that said, "Come and trade with me if you dare." There's not a chance. I don't think he can. I don't think he's foolish enough to. I think he's a very, very intelligent fighter. And I think he's well aware that getting on my back, getting on top of me, dragging me to the ground is his best chance of walking away from this fight impressively victorious. And to come and meet me in the middle and throw apples is a bad idea.
Well, talking about that, it's been about a year and a half since your last knockout. It was against Kieran Davis, another Durbanite. Aren't we due for another one, Gordon?
I think so. I think the Georgie fight also made me realise that that I had some adaptations to make throughout the last 7 years of my journey fighting. I've put a lot of people to sleep with a single punch, but I hit Georgie with so much, and the kid never. We got once or twice that we got a bit of a buckle and a stumble, but we never even got a proper knockdown. Well, there was that one knockdown in the second round, but it led me on this path where we find myself now, and the fighter you guys are going to see next week in the cage. I think I've been making the prediction throughout the whole fight that I'll knock him out in under 5, and that's where I'm going with this. I think I'll put him to sleep before we make it to the second round.
Bold but great prediction. He is a top contender at middleweight, Cameron Menkes, isn't he? And what would a win over a top contender like Cameron do for you in terms of the middleweight division? Where does it put you?
Looking at the middleweight division as it stands right now, it's an interesting division. It's got its ups, it's got its downs, it's got a lot of top contenders, guys just creeping there. I think a win over him puts me right in that bracket where we start talking who's going to fight the champ next. If the journey from here takes me straight to the strap, great. That would be first prize. I'd love to have an opportunity to shut that UK boy up.
Gary Bahadi.
Can't stand him. Yeah, I'd love an opportunity to make him bleed, but if it doesn't take me right in that direction, it surely has to put me right on the cusp of taking the step. It's got to put me. It's either got to put me in the title fight or one fight away.
Have you had that kind of conversation with Graham Cartmel?
We have spoken. We've discussed it at length. A couple of options as to the route forward came up. It's always an interesting conversation between me and Graham because I've never sat down and planned with him. It's out of I think this will be my 9th fight with the promotion. Something like 6 of them has been in under 28 days type of conversations. Right. Gordon, how do you feel about this fight in 3 weeks from now, or whatever? So we've never done much planning. I've just always said, give me what the fans like. Give me the big fights, the exciting fights. I don't care who they are, who the names are. Give me a chance to make them bleed. And this was the first time we had the conversation, and we said, you know what happens next? And I think he's of the opinion that the exact same thing is going on here. I win this fight, and I've been around forever. I've been around with the promotion since the 20s in terms of production numbers. So I think it's time. I've fought the big names. I've main evented. I've been on the, I've been headlining main cards and opening up exciting fight cards for them for a long time. I just needed to stack it together. I just needed to put it together, and I think this win is proof that I've got it together.
It kind of makes sense what you're saying in terms of your record, because taking all those short notice fights, you're one of those fighters, to be honest with you, Gordon, whose record isn't always the best shape.
100%.
But the entertaining fights you put on was why I introduced you as a very fan-friendly fighter. Are you one of those guys who'd be damned to the records, I just want to go and put on a show?
That's the thing, is there's been a few key things for me, is I have never been offered a fight in my life and turned it down. Never. Nobody's ever called me and said, let's fight X, Y, and Z, and I've said, no, not now. And that's because I believe in the fighter mentality. I believe I'm a fighter. My character is the fighting character. And then the second part of that is, if not here to entertain, if not here to amaze, what is the purpose? I've been very vocal about the fact that I don't understand guys beating other opponents over a 3-round wrestling match. Yes, I'm a professional athlete. I understand exactly what's going on there. Yeah. I just don't know how you go home and look yourself in the mirror and say, I laid on top of him the best last night, or I prevented him from knocking me out the best last night. That's not fighting. That's not what the fans want. That's not why they take their money and pay buying tickets, tuning in on live TV to watch us fight. They watch for the entertainment value. Yeah. Has that cost me a very lopsided or a very wishy-washy record over the years? Yeah, but collecting memories, man, collecting memories.
You're not a full-time fighter, because this is quite a hectic fight camp. You're getting a lot of training in for this fight for Durban. You work in corporate procurement, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what is the perfect balance for you in terms of not being a full-time fighter with the amount of work? I mean, you just come from a meeting now to do this show. You're in fight camp. You're fighting next week. I mean, it's so much to deal with. What is the perfect fighting career balance for you, Gordon?
For me personally, I think it's one, having a tremendous support structure around me. That is really what creates all the balance, and then it's about that how bad do you want it factor, because you're dead right. It is absolute chaos. It is. Some days I discuss it with people that are regular parts of my life, and those kind of things, and even they stop and go, but how, I know as I sit here, best case scenario, during a fight camp, I've got 6.5 hours of sleep every night, max. That's it. That's what you got to deal with. So I think that I've, one, decided I wanted it bad enough, and two, found a way to balance all these things so as to gauge myself on par with a full-time athlete.
Yeah.
But the balance is just something trial and error. It's a lot of emotional ups and downs and frustrations, but it's always sweet in the other end. You always get out the other end, and it was all worth it.
So distill that then, Gordon. Why do you fight?
It's just something inside me. There's just something inside me that yearns for the challenge. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're Anderson Silva. It doesn't matter how good you get. You go in there, and to start it off with, before a first punch is thrown, it is pure square even odds, 50-50. This fight can go either way. And I always tell the younger kids coming up in the gym that's really starting their journey now, that they've got to be very sure they want this, because this is the most unforgiving game. When you win, you and a team of 10, 15 people celebrate victory. And however big the pot of victory is, a teaspoon needs to be shared with everybody that contributed. But when you lose, everybody's contribution on the journey has helped, but you lose alone. The whole pot is yours. A lot of people share some emotion with you, but nobody else wakes up tomorrow morning having been the loser of that fight. Yeah. Only you. They had a competitor from their gym loss. They had an athlete they sponsored that lost. You are the one that lost. And I think that challenge is something that I was blessed that it came across my life at some point, and it smacked me straight in the face. I took it up, and the thrill of stepping up to that challenge every time is just part of who I am. It's what I do.
That's why you fight. Like you said, this is your 9th fight now in the EFC. Your first EFC fight, I think, was against Pupanga, against Tresor, over 3 years ago. What has been, in your mind, the most memorable fight you've ever had so far in the EFC?
It's been a roller coaster journey. There's been some great highlights. Being able to accept the fight at Sun City EFC 50 was a big start point for me. I so badly wanted to be there. There was no space on the card, and then stars aligned. But I think my number one fight has to be the night I fought Sean DeLonge, EFC 32. It was this 4-round slugfest. We both went home with multiple fractures. I broke my orbital. He had a broken leg. It was just an absolute war, and I came with this bit of a bloods and guts gore fighter. This is what we're going to see as absolute wars like the legends. And Pupanga didn't quite go that way. I think there was a lot of nerves, and then the Bruno fight had so many ups and downs. Sean was the first time I got to show the international audience what I was all about. Yeah. Why people were saying this guy is our Cerrone. This guy's our go-to absolute. Just gets in there, bangs. There's no game plan. There's no nothing. He's going to come out there, and the plan is to put this guy, on the canvas.
One thing I always wanted to ask you is a bit of a personal one. Tell me about the Anu name, because it's one of your most prominent tattoos. And every time you go into the hexagon, I always want to know what it means to you.
It's an interesting thing. When I started my MMA journey, my head coach at that point was a guy named Anu Pinar, and he ended up being a very male father-like guiding figure in my life, and by no means was I wasn't a kid. I was mid-20s. I had children of my own already. Sure. And this man stepped up, and he changed my entire perspective of life, the entire direction my thought process was going on, what mattered, where I was going in life, how I was going to achieve it, and he just had this tremendous ability to alter this for me. It happened to come via the means of a tool called MMA, yeah. and a journey started with him, and about a year and a half into that journey, 2 years into that journey, my second son was born, and I named my son after him, which is Arno. So throughout the full sleeves and stuff, I've got all my kids' names tattooed somewhere. Arno obviously featuring very prominent on my back, with a bit of a little cliche attachment to the fact that Arno's always got my back, Yeah,
okay.
Our paths have since split, but but the lessons and the journey and everything continues, and it just holds gives me goosebumps. It holds a tremendous significance to me because in another forum or whatever, I've discussed it before that MMA saved me. I was on a completely different journey in my life. I was on a different space. I weighed 40 kilos more than I do now. I was a different human, and he was the vessel that used the tool of MMA to turn me from a boy to a man.
Wow. Mentorship is indeed a very powerful and underrated thing. Talking about mentorship, you've been training with Jackie Seer, who shares the main card with you in Durban, and she's going to be fighting Amanda Lino for the inaugural women's flyweight title. How's she looking at it? What's it been like for you training with her?
Jackie is looking unstoppable. She's really looking phenomenal. What strikes me always about her the most is the progress she makes, and it feels like it's happening week on week. It feels like just the other day we were sparring an X, and 2 weeks later, and you realize X is gone, or X has improved, or whatever the case may be. And it's been the case for a while now. Me and Jackie started training together. The first time she fought Lino was our first camp together. Okay. So, ticking all the average boxes that are there. She's fit, she's strong, she's injury-free. All of those things are going great. But in terms of mental fortitude, the Shauna fight in December has changed Jackie completely. Up until that night, there's an iconic photo that goes around our gym a lot and on those kind of circles where she's coming out to fight Lino, and I stop her halfway down the walkway and we have a little conversation for 10 seconds. And that conversation all went around the fact that the only person that needs to believe you can beat this girl is you. That's it. We all believe it. It's there. We know you can do it. And it's always been dragging that out of her because she's not this larger-than-life, bombastic, in-your-face human. She's not that athlete, very reserved. Yeah. But the confidence part, she can remain reserved, but we needed to make sure the confidence was deep inside. Yeah. And going into the Shauna fight, we talk about it a lot and try and build on it a lot, and I don't think up until maybe 90 seconds into round one, Jackie believed she could beat her. I think we were halfway down round one when Jackie realized, I can beat this girl. I'm actually going to win this fight. And when you talk to her now, I attended an interview with her the other day. They asked her, when did you know you had the Shauna fight in the bag? At what moment? And she said, when I got her up from the stool between round 1 and 2, I knew she couldn't beat me. And you can go and watch the fight again. You can see it in round 2 and 3. There's a whole different beast coming in her. And we're in that space again with Lino. We're in a space where no matter what, the end result of almost any conversation we have at this point is there is no reality that the 11th of June happens and we don't hold that big-ass belt. That big gold belt belongs to us. And that's just what she's constantly repeating. It doesn't matter. She's in a space where becoming the champ doesn't matter to her. Becoming the first ever champ. There's going to be many champs after Lino, after whoever comes. I bet you Shauna at some point is going to hold this belt over the next couple of years as well. But nobody's ever going to be the first champ again. And that's what she wants. That's where she's at mentally, which is a beautiful space to be at.
Wow, an eye on history. And then again, I'll tie it in with history. Two of your former opponents, Dino Bagatine and Bruno Makulu, they're fighting in July at Sun City. How do you see that fight playing out as a former opponent of both those guys?
It's such an interesting one because I had this conversation with Graham Cartmel about a month and a half ago about Sean DeLange and Dino, or 2 months ago, whatever. And I said, there is absolutely no reality in which Sean beats Dino, having fought both of them as well. And I don't know what Dino's going through. I don't know what the former champ is battling with himself right now. But the guy that fought me at the Coca-Cola Dome back in 2014 is not the guy that fought the other night. I don't think so. So there's obviously a bunch of avenues to explore, whether he just hasn't evolved with the sport and everybody else caught up, or what's going on. But nonetheless, Dino's dangerous. Dino is, in my opinion, if we etch it out on paper, the superior fighter between the two. Has to be. Bruno's the strongest athlete I've ever trained, fought, or anything with. I've never felt a human that strong in my life. And we saw it again against Duplessis now. We saw him just get bullied by sheer power. I'm going to call it a win for Bruno, unanimous decision over 3 rounds.
Okay.
Because I don't know if Dino is going to be able to cope with that power and that never fading power. Bruno just stays as strong as he was the first minute, he stays in the 15th. Of course, there's always the option where he knocks him out, but
it's a strong option. I had Dino in the studio last week, and he 100%. Wants it bad, eh? He wants it
no,
bad.
100%. And I've got, there's no love lost between me and Dino as people. Do I respect him as an athlete? Hell yes. And he's one of the crispest boxers we've got in all of EFC. His boxing is phenomenal. His hands are awesome. He can knock him out. If Dino, the former welterweight champ, shows up, Bruno's in trouble. If Dino that fought the other night shows up, it's just going to be a long 15 minutes of being grinded out. I can't imagine Bruno stopping him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
sure.
he's just going to get up minute 15:01 seconds and be very disappointed having spent 12 of it on his back type of thing.
Well, thanks. But it was a tough one to ask, and thanks for the bold prediction.
Nice.
What is the future for Gordon Rage Roodman? What's going to happen in your life?
The immediate future is I've got a 5-minute window in which to make a 12-week prediction happen. That's the immediate future. The not so distant immediate future is if minutes 6 till 15 happen. Then I'm taking a bit of a break on a personal level. I'm heading out of the country for a while, driving up into Africa. I just need to take a bit of a stop. I fought in December, and with the fighting and working a corporate career, the fighting takes up a lot of the holiday time because I'm away fighting. So I just need a bit of a break, and then I'll be back to fight when EFC goes to Pretoria in December. That'll definitely be the next one. I'm hoping that on that night it'll be a title fight for the middleweight strap. That'll be great. If not, it'll be whoever Graham conjures up and makes the call on. I'll get the call, and the answer will always be I know a guy. So the immediate future is just getting through this fight, making sure that I rack up the win, do what we've been training for a long period of time, and then spend some quality time with my family, man.
Sounds like a perfect plan, Gordon. All the best for your fight on Saturday. Man. Really can't wait to look forward to it. And all your fights you've got coming up. You're always one of those guys who's so exciting to watch, and it's great to talk to you today. Thanks for coming in, mate.
See you at the event, man.
Well, that's your lot for this week's episode of The Clinch. Don't forget you can get hold of us through all the usual social media accounts. If there's anything whatsoever that you want to share or you want to see, please get hold of us. Join me next week for more insight, features and interviews. Thanks for watching. Be good.